Travel enough and you start to notice that most cities share the same basic menu of places: cafes, bars, shops, cinemas, gyms. South Korea has all of those, but it also has a whole category of spaces that simply don't exist in most of the world, or at least not in the same dense, polished, everyday form. These are the places that make Korean daily life feel distinct: little rooms and venues built around very specific human needs: gaming, singing, soaking, studying, relaxing, that other countries either never developed or never refined to this level. For locals, they're completely ordinary. For visitors, they're a revelation, the kind of thing you immediately wish your own hometown had. So let's walk through 10 Korean places that don't exist anywhere else quite like this, and see how a culture turns specific moments of leisure and downtime into entire dedicated spaces you'll genuinely miss once you've experienced them. For locals, they're completely ordinary, but for visitors, they're a revelation, the kind of thing you immediately wish your own hometown had, because each one takes a very specific human need and builds a polished, affordable space entirely around it. First is the PC Bang, the gaming cafe taken to another level. These aren't dingy internet cafes. They're sleek rooms full of powerful computers, big monitors, comfortable chairs, and blazing fast connections, with food and drinks delivered right to your seat as you play. Friends gather here to game together for hours at very low cost, and the atmosphere is social and energetic rather than isolating. It's a place built precisely for the joy of playing alongside other people, and the level of comfort and service makes the gaming cafes of most other countries feel like a rough, early draft by comparison. The food and drinks brought right to your seat, the powerful machines, the social energy of playing alongside friends rather than alone, all of it makes the gaming cafes of most other countries feel like a rough, early draft by comparison. Second is the Coin Noribang, a brilliant twist on karaoke. Regular song rooms are everywhere in Korea, but the coin version strips it down to its purest form. Small booths where you pop in a few coins, pick your songs, and sing for a few minutes without committing to a whole room or a long session. It's perfect for 1 or 2 people, cheap, spontaneous, and judgment-free. You can duck in alone on the way home just to belt out a couple of songs. That casual, bite-sized approach to singing in public is something most places have simply never thought to build. Perfect for 1 or 2 people, cheap and spontaneous and judgment-free. You can duck in alone on the way home just to belt out a couple of songs. And that casual, bite-sized approach to public singing is something most places never thought to build. Third is the Bang, the bathhouse and sauna complex that functions like a whole wellness village under one roof. You get hot and cold baths, a range of themed sauna rooms, heated floors to lie on, snack bars, rest areas, and often space to stay overnight. Families spend whole afternoons here, and friends treat it as a place to relax and talk for hours. It's bathing, sweating, eating, and resting all bundled into one affordable, comfortable experience, a communal approach to relaxation that simply has no real equivalent in most other countries. Families spend whole afternoons here and friends treat it as a place to talk for hours, bundling bathing, sweating, eating, and resting into one affordable experience, a communal approach to relaxation with no real equivalent in most countries. Fourth is the Study Cafe, a space invented for a culture that takes focus seriously. Part library, part lounge, these are quiet, comfortable rooms where you pay for a desk and settle in to work or study, often around the clock. They're cleaner and calmer than a coffee shop and more pleasant than a stuffy library, designed entirely around concentration. For students and remote workers, they're a sanctuary, and the fact that a country built a whole class of business around the simple need for a good place to think tells you a lot about its priorities. Cleaner and calmer than a coffee shop and far more pleasant than a stuffy library, they're designed entirely around concentration, and the fact that a whole class of business grew up around the simple need for a good place to think says a lot. Fifth is the Manhwa Cafe or Book Cafe, a cozy refuge built around reading. These spaces are stacked with comics and books, fitted with soft seating, nooks, and sometimes little raised platforms to curl up on, and you simply pay to spend time reading in comfort, often with a drink in hand. It's a place designed for slow, quiet enjoyment, a few unhurried hours lost in stories. The idea of a dedicated, comfortable home for casual reading, treated as a proper outing, is something most cities never developed into a real, thriving business. Designed for slow, quiet enjoyment, a few unhurried hours lost in stories with a drink in hand, the book cafe turns casual reading into a proper outing, something most cities never developed into a thriving, comfortable business of its own. Sixth is the multi-bang or DVD room, a private little theater you rent by the hour. You and your friends or your partner get your own cozy room with a big screen and a sofa to watch films or shows together in privacy. It's more intimate than a cinema and more of an event than watching at home, the perfect middle ground. In a country where young people often live with family and crave private space, these rooms fill a very real need, offering a comfortable shared screen experience that's hard to find elsewhere. More intimate than a cinema and more of an event than watching at home. These private rooms fill a very real need in a country where young people often live with family, offering comfortable shared screen time that's genuinely hard to find elsewhere. Seventh is screen golf, an indoor golfing craze that's genuinely everywhere. Using high-quality simulators, you play full virtual rounds on famous courses by hitting real balls into a screen, all indoors and regardless of the weather. It's social, competitive, and far more accessible than booking a real course, often paired with food and drinks. Golf, normally an expensive and time-consuming hobby, becomes a casual evening out with friends. The sheer density and sophistication of these simulator venues is something you simply don't see at this scale anywhere else. Social, competitive, and far more accessible than booking a real course, often paired with food and drinks, screen golf turns an expensive, time-consuming hobby into a casual evening out, and the density of these venues is something you'll see nowhere else. Eighth is the board game cafe, a warm, social space stocked with hundreds of games. You grab a table, browse a huge library of board games, order some snacks and drinks, and spend hours playing with friends, with staff on hand to teach the rules of anything you don't know. It's a screen-free, face-to-face kind of fun that's easy to organize and very affordable. These cafes turn a simple games night into a proper outing, and their popularity and polish make them a beloved fixture in a way most countries never quite achieved. Screen-free and face-to-face, easy to organize and very affordable, with staff who teach you any game you don't know. The Board Game Cafe turns a simple games night into a proper outing that most countries never manage to polish to this level. Ninth are the self-photo studios, the wildly popular booths where you take your own polished portraits. Step into a bright, well-equipped booth with friends, pose for a series of shots, and walk away minutes later with strips of crisp printed photos and digital copies. They're a step beyond old photo booths, with better lighting, props, and quality, and they've become a staple way for friends and couples to mark a day out. Capturing the moment in this fun, instant, tangible form has become its own little ritual that's spread across the whole country. A clear step beyond the old photo booths, with better lighting, props, and quality, they've become a staple way for friends and couples to mark a day out, and capturing the moment in this instant, tangible form has become its own little ritual. 10th are the themed and animal cafes, where the cafe is really an experience. Beyond ordinary coffee shops, you'll find places built around a concept or around animals, cat cafes, dog cafes, and other gentle creatures you can sit with while you sip your drink. They're designed for a relaxing, novel afternoon, a way to enjoy some calm company and a coffee at once. While such places exist in pockets elsewhere, the variety, density, and care put into them here turn what might be a gimmick into a genuinely charming part of everyday leisure. While such places exist in pockets elsewhere, the sheer variety, density, and care put into them here, from cat cafes to all sorts of gentle company, turn what might be a gimmick into a genuinely charming and ordinary part of everyday leisure. What ties all these places together is a simple insight. Korea looked at specific human moments, wanting to play, to sing, to soak, to study, to read, to watch, to relax, and built dedicated, affordable, well-designed spaces around each one. Nothing is left to make do. There's a proper place for nearly every kind of downtime, polished and waiting. That's why visitors leave with a mental list of things they wish they had back home, and why these rooms and venues feel less like attractions and more like the comfortable, clever furniture of an entire way of life. What ties them together is a single insight. that Korea looked at specific moments of downtime and built dedicated, well-designed spaces around each one, which is why visitors leave with a mental list of things they wish they had back home.